Can you actually make a fortune driving Uber in Melbourne? Or is Uber the one making a fortune? Stick around because I spent a full week behind the wheel so you don't have to guess. In this video, I'm breaking down the real numbers from my Uber driving week here in Melbourne, Victoria, the earnings, the costs, the good trips, the bad ones. Whether you're thinking about jumping into rideshare or just curious about what drivers actually take home, this one's for you. Now, a quick disclaimer before we get into it. Right? I'm not claiming to be some rideshare guru, but these numbers that I'm going to show you here are from my own week on the road, and your results will definitely vary. Things like the time of the day, where you're driving, and what car you are in will all make a difference. Right? Even external factors like what's happening in the Middle East, the turmoil created by US and Israel, is sending shockwaves to global economy, driving up energy prices, right? The hike in fuel prices is definitely affecting every taxi Uber driver's bottom line, no doubt. But I think recently Uber has revised their fare, taking into account the pricing volatility and rising operational costs for drivers, which is in a way good. But let's find out if this side gig is actually worth going for. Okay, before I go into my earnings, I would like to briefly explain the process of getting into Uber driving, so it might be helpful for some of the viewers, who is interested in getting into rideshare. But you can skip this section and go straight into earnings. Before you even take your first trip, there is a bit of groundwork to get through. You will need your accreditations, your credentials from Safe Transport Victoria for you as a driver, and also for your vehicle. Okay, and then you get a car inspection report from an Uber approved center. It's called the Red Book inspections, which you can do the booking online. Okay, just to check your car is roadworthy and within 15 years of age. And also you will need to set up your ABN, because as an Uber driver you are a contractor, not an employee. Uber has clearly stated this in their agreement. Okay, in Australia, the Fair Work Ombudsman and Fair Work Commission have determined that Uber drivers are independent contractors, not employees. As independent contractors, drivers are not entitled to benefits like minimum wage, annual leave, or sick leave, as they control their own hours, use their own vehicles, and can work for competing platforms. Okay, so essentially you're running your own small business, so your earnings and expenses will be treated as profit and loss, not the usual way that you will report to ATO with your TFN, okay, with your tax file number. So it's a very different process. Okay, once that's all sorted, you're on the road. When you start, you're on a blue status, that's the entry level, and as you rack up points, you can move up to gold, platinum, and diamond, each with its own perks. You can see there are fuel discounts for every level. Okay, and there are certain features that might be not accessible in the entry level, like seeing the trip directions. Okay, up front. That's probably seen on gold or the higher statuses. Okay, and one of the features I like in gold status is the unlocking of a language software called the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone actually helps you to learn new languages. If you're a language nerd or interested in learning a new language, I think that would be a pretty cool feature for you to sort of unlock. Okay, but you also have to remember these points sort of reset every 3 months, so you got to keep grinding to hold on to these benefits. Alright, let's get to what you actually came here for, the money. Alright, this week I've earned a net fare of $621, okay, plus $16 in tips from some great passengers, bringing my total to $637 for the week. I put in about 22 hours in total, with the bulk of my driving from Friday through Sunday. Sunday was my biggest day at around $176. Now here's something worth paying attention to, the difference between online time and active time. Active time is when there is actually a passenger in the car, and that's the time when you're earning. I spent about 16 hours there. The other 6+ hours, that's the idle time, waiting for a ping, repositioning, or doing nothing while the meter isn't running. Okay, and that idle time was noticeably worse on weekdays outside of peak hour. So $637 for the week sounds decent, but let's actually dig into what that means per hour. Okay, if you only count the time I had a passenger in the car, that's the active time, I'm looking at $40 an hour, which sounds great, but I wasn't earning that whole time I was online. Factor in all 22 hours and it drops to $28 per hour. And here's where it gets real. The Australian minimum wage as of July 25 is $24.95 per hour. Once you deduct fuel, the settling tolls, and a slice of GST and insurance, you're sitting somewhere around $21 an hour. That's below minimum wage. And remember, you're also putting fair wear and tear on your own car. That depreciation cost doesn't show up in any of these numbers, but you might have to report towards the end of the year. And if you factor in, it's going to go even further down. Okay, so the verdict: if you're in a transition period or need some extra cash on the weekends, or just want something flexible that fits around your life, always genuinely a solid option. But as a full-time career, you're not building wealth. You're slowly devaluing your car while earning somewhere around minimum wage on a good week. It is a great side hustle, but I would say a risky one. Okay. Alright, if this helped you figure out whether it's worth it for you, drop a comment below. I'd love to know what you think. And if you want to see more honest breakdowns like this, subscribe and I'll keep them coming. Thank you.